Brenton was a thrill seeker, an adrenaline junkie. He lived for the rush of excitement that came with each daring leap he took from the highest cliffs he could find. He was a cliff diver, and he had been diving since he was just a boy. Brenton had traveled the world, diving from the cliffs of Greece, the mountains of Peru, and the beaches of Hawaii. But there was one place he had always dreamed of diving from, a place that was said to be the most dangerous cliff in the world. It was located in a remote part of Brazil, deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. The journey to the cliff was treacherous. Brenton had to navigate through the thick jungle, avoiding deadly animals and poisonous plants. He had to cross raging rivers and climb steep mountains. It took him weeks to reach the cliff, but when he finally arrived, he knew it was worth the journey. The cliff was unlike any Brenton had ever seen. It was over 200 feet tall, with jagged rocks jutting out from the sides. The water below was deep, dark blue, and Brenton knew that it was filled with all kinds of dangerous creatures, from piranhas to anacondas. Despite the danger, Brenton knew he had to dive from this cliff. He spent the next few days studying the cliff, measuring the height, the wind, and the water currents. He knew he had to time his dive perfectly if he wanted to survive. On the day of the dive, Brenton woke up before sunrise. He ate a light breakfast and spent hours warming up his body, stretching and preparing for the jump. He knew that one mistake could mean death. As the sun began to rise, Brenton climbed to the top of the cliff. He could feel his heart racing as he stood at the edge, looking down at the water below. He took a deep breath and jumped. The wind rushed past Brenton as he plummeted towards the water. He felt weightless, free, alive. He could hear the roar of the water as he neared the surface, and he knew he had to be careful not to hit any rocks. At the last second, Brenton twisted his body and entered the water at a perfect angle. He felt the shock of cold water as he plunged deep below the surface. He opened his eyes and saw the dark blue water around him, filled with all kinds of strange creatures. But Brenton wasn't afraid. He knew he was in his element. He swam to the surface and took a deep breath of air. He felt alive, more alive than he had ever felt before. He looked up at the cliff and felt a sense of pride. He had conquered the most dangerous cliff in the world. Over the next few weeks, Brenton dove from the cliff every day. He honed his skills, trying new dives and pushing himself to new limits. He even dove from the cliff at night, using only the light of the moon to guide him. But one day, something went wrong. Brenton climbed to the top of the cliff, took a deep breath, and leaped off into the air. As he soared through the sky, he felt a rush of adrenaline coursing through his veins. But as he descended towards the water, he saw something in the distance that made his heart skip a beat. A large shadow was moving in the water, and he realized with horror that it was a great white shark. Brenton tried to adjust his course and avoid the shark, but it was too late. The creature had sensed his presence and was swimming towards him with incredible speed. With only seconds to spare, Brenton braced himself for impact and hit the water hard. He felt the sharp pain shoot through his side and knew immediately that he had broken a rib. But the pain was nothing compared to the terror he felt as he saw the shark circling around him. It was a massive creature with razor-sharp teeth and a hunger in its eyes. He mustered all of his strength and swam towards the surface, trying to stay calm despite the pain in his side. The shark was relentless, though, and continued to circle around him, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Brenton knew he couldn't keep this up forever, and he needed to find a way out. He tried to swim away from the shark, but in the blink of an eye, the shark lunged towards him, and he swam headfirst into its mouth. The force of the bite caused significant trauma to Brenton's head and neck, and the shark's sharp teeth tore through his shoulders. Just when he thought all hope was lost, a group of dolphins appeared out of nowhere. They surrounded Brenton and chased off the shark with their powerful bodies and piercing calls. Brenton was in shock, but he knew he had been saved by these intelligent creatures. He climbed onto a nearby rock and collapsed, panting and clutching his bloodied shoulders. The dolphin swam around him for a few more moments before disappearing into the depths of the ocean. Brenton knew that he owed them his life and would never forget their bravery. Brenton then swam back to shore, bruised and battered, but alive. He knew that he'd been extremely lucky to still be alive despite being attacked by the great white shark, and he vowed to never take unnecessary risk again. But he also knew that the thrill of adventure would always be a part of his life, and he would continue to seek out new challenges and experiences. Even though he had been scared out of his wits, he knew that he wouldn't want it any other way. The sun was shining bright on the blue waters of the Caribbean as a group of friends boarded a luxurious yacht. Erica, Russell, Lucy, and Jerry were all excited for a day filled with fun and laughter, as they had planned a party to celebrate their graduation from college. The yacht was equipped with everything they needed, including a bar, a grill, and a sound system. As they set sail, they turned up the music and cracked open some cold beers. They lounged on the deck chairs, soaking up the sun and taking in stunning views. After a few hours of cruising, they dropped anchor near a secluded cove. They dove into the crystal clear water, swam around, and even tried some snorkeling. They were having the time of their lives. As the sun started to set, they decided to fire up the grill and cook some burgers. They sipped on cocktails and chatted about their plans for the future. Suddenly, they heard a loud splash, followed by a splash from the other side of the yacht. "What was that?" Lucy asked, her eyes wide. "I don't know," Erica said, her voice slightly shaking. "Maybe it's just a fish." But as they looked out into the water, they saw a dark shadow circling the yacht. It was a shark. The group quickly scrambled onto the deck, fear in their eyes. "What do we do?" Russell yelled, panic rising in his voice. Jerry, the most level-headed of the group, took charge. "Everyone stay calm," he said. "We need to figure out a way to scare the shark away." They quickly searched the yacht for anything they could use as a weapon. All they found were some brooms and mops, but Jerry had an idea. "Let's bang these against the side of the yacht," he said. "It might scare the shark away." The group began banging the brooms and mops against the side of the yacht, making as much noise as they could. The shark seemed to take notice, circling closer and closer to the yacht. Suddenly, the shark lunged out of the water and snapped its jaws at the side of the yacht. The group screamed in terror, sure that the shark would break through the thin fiberglass, but the yacht held up and the shark swam away. The group let out a sigh of relief, hugging each other tightly. "That was close," Erica said, her voice shaking. "I think it's time we head back to shore," Russell said. "I don't want to risk encountering another shark." The group quickly pulled up anchor and set sail back to shore. The party had been ruined, but they were grateful to have escaped unharmed. As they docked the yacht, they were greeted by a group of concerned onlookers. The group explained what had happened, and everyone was amazed that they had managed to scare the shark away. The incident had shaken them all, but they knew that they had had each other to rely on. They hugged each other once more before parting ways, promising to never forget the day they encountered a shark on the party yacht. From that day forward, the group never forgot the importance of safety and preparedness when on the water. They made sure to always have proper safety equipment on hand and to be aware of their surroundings. And although they never went back on a party yacht, they remained the best of friends, bonded forever by their shared experience. In the heart of a bustling city, there stood a massive aquarium housing all kinds of aquatic life, including the crown jewel of the establishment, a majestic great white shark. Visitors from far and wide flocked to the aquarium to catch a glimpse of the magnificent creature, basking in the glory of the glass tank that contained it. The great white, affectionately nicknamed Mighty, had been the star attraction of the aquarium for years, delighting audiences with its graceful movements and fearsome presence. It had been carefully trained by the aquarium staff to perform tricks and interact with visitors, becoming somewhat of a local celebrity. But on one fateful day, something went terribly wrong. The shark, without warning or provocation, began to thrash about wildly in its tank, smashing into the walls and causing a panic among the visitors. The aquarium staff sprang into action, desperately trying to calm the beast and prevent any harm from coming to the visitors. The cause of the shark's sudden outburst remained a mystery, but many speculated it was due to stress or agitation from being cooped up in the small tank for so long. Regardless of the cause, the situation quickly spiraled out of control, with the shark becoming increasingly violent and aggressive. As the chaos ensued, the staff quickly ushered the terrified visitors to safety, but it soon became clear that the shark was beyond their control. Despite their best efforts, the animal continued to lash out, wreaking havoc in its surroundings and causing damage to the aquarium. The situation quickly became a matter of public concern, with news of the rogue shark spreading like wildfire. The authorities were called in to assist with the situation, but their efforts were met with limited success. The shark proved to be a formidable foe, defying all attempts to subdue it and wreaking havoc wherever it went. As the hours turned into days, the shark's rampage continued, and the city was brought to a standstill. The aquarium, once a source of wonder and amazement, had become a site of terror and chaos, and the great white at the center of it all. Despite their best efforts, the aquarium staff were unable to calm the shark, and it seemed that the situation was destined to end in tragedy. But then, a glimmer of hope emerged, an unlikely hero who would prove to be the key to resolving the crisis. Enter Tony, a marine biologist who had devoted his life to the study of sharks. Tony had been following the news of the shark's rampage with great interest and had a hunch that he might be able to help. Armed with his knowledge of shark behavior and an unshakable determination, he set out to the aquarium to take on the mighty beast. It was a risky move, but Tony was determined to try. Armed with only a wetsuit and a diving tank, he plunged into the tank to face the shark head-on. The shark, sensing a new challenger, turned its attention to Tony, preparing to strike. But Tony was ready. He knew that the key to calming the shark was to establish a connection with it, to show it that he was not a threat, but a fellow inhabitant of the ocean. With nerves of steel, he approached the shark, speaking to it in a calm, soothing voice. At first, the shark remained agitated, but slowly it began to respond to Tony's presence. As the minutes ticked by, the shark's movements became less frenzied, and it began to calm down, allowing Tony to approach it without fear of attack. And then, in a moment of pure magic, the shark and Tony connected. It was as though they were communicating on a level beyond words, with an unspoken understanding passing between them. The shark, which had been so aggressive and violent just moments before, now lay motionless as Tony gently stroked its fin. The crowd watching from outside the tank was silent, holding their breath as they watched the unlikely bond unfold before them. It was as though the shark had found a friend in Tony, someone who understood it and respected its power. After what felt like an eternity, Tony slowly made his way back to the edge of the tank, the shark following him closely. With a final pat on its fin, Tony climbed out of the water, his heart pounding with excitement and relief. The aquarium staff rushed to the tank, stunned at what they had just witnessed. The shark, which had been so out of control just moments before, now seemed perfectly calm and content, its aggression replaced with a newfound sense of peace. Over the following weeks, the aquarium staff worked with Tony to create a more natural and spacious environment for the great white, one that would better suit its needs and provide it with the space it required. The shark thrived in its new home, interacting with visitors in a more natural and respectful way. In the end, the story of the shark in the aquarium gone berserk became a lesson for all, a reminder that even the most fearsome and powerful creatures can be tamed with a little understanding and respect. And for Tony, it was a moment that he would never forget, a triumph that would stay with him for the rest of his life. As he walked away from the aquarium that day, his heart filled with gratitude and awe. He couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the ocean held, and what other marvels he might discover in his lifelong quest to understand the mysteries of the deep.